Hi folks, welcome to another Boats and Bits. In this episode we're going to kick off a new series looking back at technology over the years that would have been used on a boat. First off, I'm going to kick off with this Radio Directional Finder and just cover some of the technology and how this worked. If you've never seen one of these before, this is a Seafix 2000. It's probably one of the later ones, as it's got a nice wee LCD display. There have been other types and makes and models and all the rest. Basically it worked on the principle that one of these long wave, medium wave signals, if you had a loop antenna, whenever you were perpendicular to the signal, basically there was no, you couldn't hear it, so basically the signal is zero. So what this meant is if you spin the antenna sideways, so the front is perpendicular, so whenever you're pointing, so basically what you're looking to do is find a radio signal that you know the frequency for, so you'd tune it in and then find out where the null is, and then you can work, there's a wee compass at the front, so then you can work out what the bearing is. The problem is obviously there's two null points. There's obviously if I'm pointing sort of, if I'm coming this way from it or the other, so there's obviously whenever it's behind me, it would be null as well. So what you'd need is multiple signals, and you could actually get your lines and see where your intersections are, and that would be your point. So obviously the more points you have, and the more the actual fixes you have of beacons, then the better the quality of the fixing is. It's not too dissimilar to a sextant in that you're, in this case, using radio to pinpoint, but obviously a sextant works slightly different. It uses visual aids. So this type of technology goes way back to the war. So you can imagine if you're on a German U-boat and you're transmitting signals back, you're going to be using sort of high frequencies that can go great distances. If you're an allied boat and you want to track that signal, obviously if you've got the ability to actually hone in on that signal, then you can actually find that U-boat and hunt it down. So you can see how this would have been used for that rather than sort of directional finding. This would have been then used sort of into the 70s and 80s then by commercial boats and others. There would have been a whole network of these here all around the sort of coastal areas and things like that there, and there would have been a books with all the frequencies and the coordinates, so then you could work out you could get 2 or 3 signals and work out where you are. Obviously when GPS comes in, it kind of made this obsolete, and most of any of the local ones here in the UK have stopped transmitting. So how I found out about all this technology was I was watching the Mersey, and I seen Donald Crowhurst, who was obviously the sailor the movie's based around. If you haven't watched it, I think it's available on Netflix, but it's a very good story. His backstory, yes, was before he started out in the Golden Globe, he basically sold a device called the Navigator, which is kind of just a version of this here. I'll stick a link to a picture up here just to show you what it looks like. So yeah, that was what his business was, and he obviously then was trying to use his own device on that there. So if you see the film, you'll see how he was using it and things like that there. Now there is a recent story of one of the Golden Globes. You're actually allowed to use these now. Obviously they're not overly useful these days compared to GPS, but I think there's one competitor actually used it just to get a fix on direction. So what we have now, the controls, is we've got volume, so that's just for turning up your earphones. There's no external speakers, it's just a wee headphone socket. It's a 3.5mm. A dent and OF, basically it's how it deals with modulation. I don't know exactly, but you'll hear it. I'll show both when it's on. Tuning, just a knob, and there's actually a lever so you can push it, so the frequency comes up on this digital display here, and then you'd obviously hold the button, tune in and find your signal, and then you'd sort of aim away from it, and then you would hone in, and as the sound disappears, then that's you're pointing at, and then you'd look at the wee mirror there. Now today, is this useful? Well, there's a few radio signals you can still you pick up on this here. Not as many as there used to be, and definitely no sort of marine ones where harbour, or lighthouses and things like that there. But there is a number of stations you can tune into. 252 I was able to pick up. This goes from about 191 to about 432 kilohertz. So you can kind of get the long wave stuff. So you can pick up Radio 4. You can also pick up some foreign like that 252's Moroccan and things like that there. There are a number of airport radio beacons that are transmitting this frequency. Some examples here are Belfast, it's my local one, is 332, and that'll be one I give there. So the Belfast City's 420, Wood Aberdeen 348. So I'll stick a link to where you can download basically a list of these here. And what those I'll demonstrate here shortly is whenever you're tuning in, you can actually hear the Morse code. So if you take a look at the bottom, you'll actually see the Morse code. So that would basically give you like a very brief description of what it was. So like Belfast is OY, so that would have the Morse code for OY, and Belfast City is HB. So whenever you tune in, then you would actually hear that, so you're actually able to verify if it's the right channel, and that was the same as the marine ones. So here we're Radio Directional Finder, Seafix 2000. So got the audio output onto the wireless mic, so it should be coming through here whenever we run it. I've got Bluetooth in my ear to try and hear it as well, which is a bit off-putting because there's a bit of a delay. But what I'll do is press the trigger.
And actually, you're probably going to scroll past most of them. I think the average at the moment is you have.
And you can hear the volume going up.
Half seconds to grab someone's attention to get them.
And then you can hear it going down again. It's pretty weak there. So if we take a look, that's hard to see with the rain. Maybe I need my glasses.
I scroll past so much stuff. You're competing with so many different things. You're competing with your friends' content, the publisher's content, the BBC's content.
This is about 26, 27 degrees. So the problem is, as I'll show here, Radio 4 has 2 or 3 long wave transmitters transmitting on the same frequency. So the problem is, whenever you get a null point of one, you're probably going to be stronger of the other. As I say, I'll show a photograph there and you can kind of see. But what we'll do now is try some of the airport ones and see if we can pick those up. So 358 in a Skillen, which should be kind of down that road. Nothing. That's what's the left move of that does. Doesn't seem to make any difference. Nope. Oh, you actually can hear it. You can hear the Morse code. From the building. So you hear Morse. You hear Morse code there. So that's in a Skillen, which we know is this down this direction. So I would expect if we go like this, we should hear nothing. We can hear nothing. And so then you can take a reading then just in the back of that. And then I should actually hear it if I'm going this way as well. Yeah, so you can see here both roads. So the next one we'll look at is Aldergrove, which is Belfast International. So I'll tune in here now. 332. There's something coming there. That should be about that way. Nothing. Oh. I can hear it faintly. Beep, beep. So the Morse code should be is the code of the airport. So there you go. Picking up some stuff there. Isle of Man not coming in, but that's quite far away. Enniskillen's quite close, and Aldergrove as well. So I was able to pick those and hear the Morse code. And there's actually a wee Morse code decoder thing at the bottom of that Yeah. Okay, so we'll go back into the dry now, but that's just a quick overview. I'll stick a map here with the actual airport locations. So it's a good night for ducks. Just back in now and doing a summary. So yeah, this is the Radio Directional Finder. As I say, I was able to pick up a couple of navigational beacons, airport ones. Now those are low power and they're about 10 or 20 watts, so they don't go very far, because if you think of an airplane's high up, so it doesn't have all the obstacles that I do down here. But the fact was I was able to pick up two in about 50 miles. So if you're out in the sea and I've had the Isle of Man and there's different airports that would be close to coasts, if you had those and you were within like 60 or 70 miles, then this certainly could have a part to play in giving you sort of directional. Kind of reminds me of a story. John, a guy I sail with, just a wee bit older than me, was telling us the other day, basically when he was sailing back in the day before GPS and all the rest, they were heading to the Isle of Man, hit fog. So what they did was use medium wave radio. Same principle, basically used the null point. So whenever they were not getting the signal, they kind of knew, well, it was going to be one of two ways, but they kind of knew which general direction they were going, so they were able to hone in on that signal. So it'd be great to hear if anybody's actually ever used one of these here on their boat. Anybody still use one of these in their boat? Anybody have one on their boat? So if you do, stick a comment down below. As I say, I'm fairly new to sailing and just have a keen interest in tech in general, but certainly have find these things interesting. I think they're probably more of a museum piece, or sort of like a talking piece. You can pick them up on eBay. I think I got this for about 15 quid. But yeah, that episode 2, which will be coming out next month, will be on Navtex, and there'll be other episodes in coming months. So if sort of old tech, as this series is your type of thing, certainly give us a like and subscribe. Well, thanks for watching. I hopefully see you all again soon. Cheers, thanks, bye.